Hey, good evening, Galleon. This is Mayor Tom O'Leary. Another Monday night, Pearl Harbor Day. So for those Second World War veterans or their immediate families who are still around, they of course remember that day. Somebody born in 1956, I only remember hearing about it and certainly watching movies and whatnot. One of my favorite experiences as a public official, however, goes back into the mid and late '80s when I had the opportunity, the pleasure to work with a number of World War II veterans. Two fellas in particular, who both gone, whose last name was Shoemaker, but they're not immediately related, I don't think. But they had both been active duty veterans in the Second World War, so their perspective said a lot about their generation overall, and it really was interesting. Not only certainly in the war they survived, but what was more interesting is when they set their mind to something, they really were determined to get that accomplished, and it's something that in maybe a lesser respect, but certainly to respect, I attribute the determination to follow through on things to Raymond and Brunel Shoemaker. Tell you another one, while I get off on a total tangent to start, another Second World War veteran who made a big difference in Crawford County and a huge impression on myself was a guy named Robert Gulling, who was truly instrumental. It's often said a handful of people who accomplished something, but he was truly one of a handful, with maybe a couple of fingers missing on that handful, that made the industrial park over in Bucyrus, Crossroads Industrial Park, the success it's been, and it's employed hundreds of people in the Galleon area, and certainly probably over the years thousands of people in Crawford County. So there you go. There's my Pearl Harbor. I could tell some more stories about Bob Gulling and how he's one of those guys that said he was 17 or whatever, and certainly wasn't. So it's interesting how things change and how that generation, as it passes on, has certainly left its mark. Switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about something that will be discussed, and I believe if things go according to plan, City Council will be appointing a new City Council at large member tomorrow night. Believe at least interviewing prospective candidates. So in any case, without telling their story or getting ahead of myself, 4 o'clock today was the closing for applicants. There are 6 individuals that have stepped forward, and I think that, I don't know quite how to interpret that, but it certainly says there's interest in filling that council at large position. I can say that that all 6 of the people have all served either an elective office or an appointed office, so that the whole field are people, individuals that have some public sector, some board background. So I think it'll be interesting. As I mentioned a week ago, I've avoided lobbying for individual candidates over the years I've been mayor. And so council will have this group of 6, which include 3 former city council members. As I understand, Kathy George has an application in, Heath Watkins, who served a term many years ago now, and Eric Weber, who served a term, moved away from the community, and now has moved back and is among the 3 that are former council members. The other 3, Kara Alt, who has been appointed to the Galleon Health Board, is put in an application, and then former city treasurer Paula Durbin, and then somebody who is kind of from my age group, but certainly has been around the community for a long time, served on Galleon School Board a while back. Don DiOsi would be the 6th person. So the time is short to lobby your favorite or whichever council member that you know, if you were hopeful of having a voice or a say in that, that I think that decision will be made, if not tomorrow night, over the next couple of days. Tomorrow night, there are just a couple of things on the agenda. There is some further clarification on the CARES Act money. I'll talk just for a minute about CARES Act update. And then there's also, as you one would expect at this time of year, some cleanup legislation on transferring some funds in order to use existing spending authority or appropriation authority. And then I believe there's a few additional supplementals that are part of a list of financials that'll be on the agenda tomorrow night. So it might be one of those meetings where the agenda isn't full of legislation, but it might be one of those meetings that sparks some conversation. So time will tell. From what I understand about how the council interviews will go, those will be held in executive session, meaning that only the people that the host of the Zoom call allows in the conversation or in the Zoom meeting will be privy to that. So that, again, I expect to see that happening tomorrow night. Couple of things quickly on the CARES Act update. Matt, who's here with me tonight, as most Mondays, been working to clarify exactly how we'll be able to provide assistance with the remaining CARES Act money. I would encourage, and if there's some questions we can talk about it. It boils down to assisting daycare, assisting, and we're not quite sure the form or the setup, the program, if you will, but assisting people with some nutritional needs or some food cards, and then the next area that we're looking at has to do with supplementing an effort that I talked about last week, and want to commend the Chambers of Commerce again tonight. They had identified some funds that were unspent at the county level, made a request, put together a proposal, made a request, and have secured a nice allocation of funds for Galion area businesses. So what I would encourage people to do is, who are businesses, especially if you're a single proprietorship or a business that had trouble qualifying for some of the federal or state business aid programs, to jot this down. It's Galion-Crestline-Chamber.org, and that's all lowercase. Go on to that website. I believe there's an application that one would fill out, and from everything I'm told, the plan is to make the requirements relatively simple, and therefore encourage rather than discourage businesses that may be in need of another boost. I don't know what to believe that you hear or see on television or hear on the rest of the media about what Congress will do. We can't worry about that right now. What I would hope businesses in this area would do is take advantage of that program that was real quickly put together by the Chamber. So thumbs up to Miranda Jones and her counterpart over in Bucyrus. There's also an allocation of funds, and then we'll maybe go to questions here in a second, that relate to nonprofits in the community. That application, those funds will be administered through the Crawford County Community Foundation. So if you know how to get to their website and access the information about their nonprofit 501 assistance program, access that at the Community Foundation website. If you aren't sure where that is, give us a call in the morning and we'll try to point you in the right direction. And so that's just a specific business assistance program. Cool thing about it, it's a grant program, and so I think everyone's desire at the local level is to utilize those funds that have been sent down from Washington through Columbus, kind of hit us as those people who listen to or participate in this live stream know. I've been saying for months that we needed to get the money so that we could distribute it in an orderly fashion, and so we were late getting the money, and we're trying to stay as orderly as possible, at the same time making sure that the dollars get to as many people as possible. I'm of the belief, and I believe council is as well, that everyone has been affected by COVID, and so it's whether it was the utility rebate program or these other situations we're talking about now, that I believe that people should make full benefit of it, and our goal is to get the money out to as many families in the community as possible. Do we have any questions at this point?
Not so far. If anybody has something tonight, please submit it now.
Okay. The other thing I would say then, just by way of introduction or monologue, is that, gosh, I want to say this is the 7th year that we've been responsible for putting together the city budget. And during the years we were under fiscal emergency, it was a different process, different goals that had to be met, different standards that had to be met as we moved towards release from fiscal emergency. Since then, what we found are a couple of years, quite honestly, in which revenues were coming in pretty much at budget, or at estimate rather, and even exceeding estimate, and expenditures weren't growing at the same rate. So we had a couple of 3 years where we actually accumulated a increased balance in the general fund. I think most folks would remember that those were also the years in which we had reduced water and sewer rates. Well, I'll take that back. Most people don't remember that, because a lot of folks will remember when utility rates go up. Few people can recall the last time utility rates went down. I can tell you that was in 14 and into 15. So in any case, this budget year is turning out to be a little bit more challenging. We're talking about the CARES Act money. That's put extra work on the shoulders on the desks of the auditor's office staff. I don't have to recount that we've had a change in the auditor's position itself. So while I'm not concerned at this point about getting the budget done in time and having sufficient funds to operate next year, I have to tell you, if I look tired tonight or I sound a little tired, it's because this 21 budget has been tougher than I expected it to. So we made quite a bit of progress today, and hope to have a meeting in the next day or two with the auditor's office, so that the first draft of the budget is ready for council yet this week. And I think at both the committee level and probably at the overall council level, that we'll probably need to schedule in a special meeting, or that would be in the case that it would take us 3 readings to get the budget passed. So we're working on the schedule, and just wanted to relate that it's gonna be a tighter budget. I was commenting today, I read an article where Cleveland area mayor said she was trying to pass a conservative budget, and I kind of laughed. I thought, what the heck is a conservative budget? And today, when I was looking at our numbers, that made more sense to me. And I think if a conservative budget means that there'll be few, if any, additions to the budget, no new, if you will, initiatives, and we're going to have to stretch a little bit to cover all the bases, all the organizations we funded in the past, all of the spending that we've been able to support over the past handful of years. So, anyways, I'll stop with that. And if we don't have any questions, that must mean our audience is dominated by Steelers fans.
I just had a comment from the
Okay.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
They just said thank you to the Guyan Area Ministerial Association for doing the tree lighting on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that is and I'll second that. It's just another instance where the information about that didn't probably get distributed throughout the community as well, and I guess it proves the point that that a parade is real popular, and next year we'll have a parade, and the turnout up at the square for that event will be much more what we've grown used to over the years. So.
And that is all I have as of right now.
That is. Well, there's no need to prolong this conversation. I would say tomorrow will be a busy day with the city council meeting tomorrow night. The Port Authority will be meeting in the morning, and those are public meetings, generally not attended by very many of the public, but if you have any interest in attending, give us a call up here at the mayor's office. It starts at 9:30, and what's going on in the background, I could have gone on for 25 minutes, and I know that's not what people would want or expect, detailing some of the issues that will face council, this new council member and the other 6 incumbent council members, as it relates to use of the freeze funds for the freeze center and some other big projects that the port's working on. So I won't open up that discussion this evening, but it would be well to stay abreast of what's going on at the Port Authority in those meetings. And again, they're public meetings. So do you have a question then?
Yeah, I did have a question come in late. This one came from Tom in reference to the Harding Way project.
Right.
I'm curious as to why ODOT did not place blue reflectors showing hydrant locations throughout the project.
I'm not sure. Reflectors on the curb.
He just says showing fire hydrant locations.
Yeah, the hydrants are, I think they're evident. If he means like the water valves and such, I'm not quite sure what he means, but he could follow up on that. There is a little bit of corrective work. We'll check based on your question, Tom, but what there's a little bit of corrective work that is turns out to be temperature sensitive, and it won't get finalized probably until the spring. Kind of up to ODOT to how they handle that to finish the contract, but to get the guarantee done. So, anything else?
No, that was it.
Hey, I'm going to sign off by saying I've been, my wife keeps me entertained with some Facebook stuff that, that among her friends and stuff. And there have been a whole series of pictures from the late 60s and early 70s of rock bands of now people who are geezers. In fact, some of the guys aren't with us. So one of the community's really skilled photographer who comments on the kind of job we're doing up at City Hall. It's not always favorable, but we always appreciate it. But Steve McManus was the drummer, and so I saw these black and white pictures of all these now geezers when they were kids, and for about 10 minutes, whoever put those up, Steve or whoever, the Centauri boys or whomever, it was great to see that. And so if there are any other questions, tap into that. There's some cool pictures from the 60s at Heisey Park. I guess the early 70s, not to make myself too old. All right, what do we got?
Tom did clarify he was referring to the blue reflectors on the pavement center line.
I don't know, there won't be any raised pavement markers there. I'm not quite sure. Have him give us a call tomorrow. It's probably better. Matt will answer your call tomorrow, and we'll try to get a little information. And if he could help us get a little information more about what you're talking about, where there's an example of it, so that we can, if we're missing something, we can include it, and if not, we can at least avoid talking past each other. So, all right, to Steve McManus and the rest of those people from back in the early '70s, thanks for the smiles back then, and then the smiles over the last couple of weeks. And from Steve, keep up those pictures out at Ammons. He's our eyes out there at Ammons. Tells what we're doing well or not so well, and so tap into that. And with all that being said, I'm going to go back to working on the 2021 budget, and we'll report back next week. Good night.